Alright, let's go guys. So we'll start by looking on at Bitcoin. So I'm just looking on the hourly time frame here, and I have a few scenarios of where we are currently at. It's a very sort of 50-50 spot where you're close to the range high, but you're also starting to build up some type of bullish momentum. So it's a bit on the sort of edge here, whether you start pumping or if you start breaking down. I'm just gonna look back a bit, see what we saw last week. So last week we had this staircase down, pretty aggressive. You have these big impulses. So that was quite bearish. You did come down to sweep the lows. We did expect that, as we did tap the 886 fib, which we did say if we tap the 886 fib, we are likely coming back to sweep the lows. So that's something we did do. Then you had this massive sort of impulse sort of structure towards the upside here, and this is where all it's sort of, well, not confusing, but on the edge of things. Because of course you do see this sort of inverse head and shoulders here. You have your shoulder, you have your head, you have your shoulder. So we did break out of that. You did have sort of a retest of that 86 on that right shoulder, and then you had your big impulse towards the upside. So this was around Wednesday. Yeah. So basically ran Wednesday, Thursday. We basically just ran into the weekend. Just pumped straight up. So I was gonna have a look at some waves here first. I'm gonna start off by looking at the bullish case. The bullish case is that this low back here is our beginning of waves towards the upside. If this is the low, which is less likely, I must say that, I think it's more likely that we start going down than actually breaking up into these highs just yet. This can change in the coming days, depending on what we do with this sort of around these highs. So initially, I would be looking for, so bullish case, less likely, but we're still gonna look at it in case it happens. Is where you have your initial impulse wave here from that 92 up to 95, 96. Then you have your pullback, make a higher low. Your wave 3 is gonna be your push into these previous highs where you swept the liquidity before it started coming down in some sort of a bullish flag formation. Wave 4, correction wave, and then you have your wave 5. The bullish case here is if this structure that we have right now is sort of it's a sideways correction move, where basically you have one type of one sort of A, B, C correction, but in a sort of a contracting move, where instead of having just that big impulse towards the downside and then correction up and down, you have it sort of as a sideways movement, where you look at it like this. There is a possibility that this is how it is, and you have your sort of an ABC correction in here, and this is your low. So for this sort of bullish case, to see further confirmations would be if you start. So I'm gonna look in the 30-minute here. If you do see this higher low here, and that could be your initial wave for a wave 1, 2, 3, and that should push you up into the highs at 100k or higher. So this is your bull case. If you make a higher low, you do not come back to these lows again. We did already sweep these lows back here. So if you make a higher low here, your bull case is you start pushing towards upside again. You are going to take out these highs, and you're likely going to take out the high at 100k too. As of right now, I think this is less likely, just because of the structure we had back here. Because of this structure back here, we are more likely to see this as a three-wave structure towards the upside. A three-way structure means most of the time that you are in a correction move. Corrective move, which means that if your trend is towards the downside, then your correction move is going to be a 1, 2, 3 corrective move towards the upside. You're going to make a lower high, and you're gonna start breaking down again. This is your corrective structure. So this is more likely with our current structure, just because you have this big impulse torch upside here as a potential A wave, B, C, which does sort of impact us into saying that this is more likely to be a 1, 2, 3, then you get your 4, 5 wave towards the downside. I don't know how big these impulses are going to be. We could very well just have a bunch smaller ones where you have sort of a macro waves where you only push down here, just sweep the lows and then start going back up again. There is a possibility that's happened too. But if so, it's very important, these closes around these levels. You do also see that in 30 minutes that if you do make a higher low here and don't break below this low, you could see this as a inverse head and shoulders, where you have your neckline around at 98 and you start forming that push towards upside into previous highs, weekly highs, and likely even higher than that. So these are your basically your two ways that we are looking at this. You're breaking below this low, you're likely to come quite a bit lower. If you hold above this previous low, you make a higher low, you're likely to push up a minimum into this sort of C wave high at 98.8 and possibly into 100k tomorrow or in the sort of coming days. Just because of this structure right now, it is more likely that we do get this pushback. It might not be a long pullback, it might just be a shorter one where you only get some sort of a sweep of this sort of B wave and then you start pushing up towards ups again. And that's when you start putting in those 5 waves move towards the upside, and you have your larger change of trend, and you have your low, higher low on a sort of a macro scale where you have your impulse, pushback, impulse. So that's for Bitcoin. Of course, we can see that we are just in a massive range right now. We are right now over the weekend. We've just been building up liquidity on both sides. So you have people shorts liquidity up here, you have people long liquidity down here. So it's a very 50-50 range that we are in right now. Of course, it makes it a slightly higher probability that we do break up out of this downtrending channel, just because we are coming from the downside, which makes it slightly higher than chance that we do come up. And of course, what like the next few candles, likely it is 3-4 hours, it's gonna tell us the next move. Then we do have a semi gap as of right now. This closed at semi closed at 99.14 on Friday. And if we look at that, if I can find my chart, this one is 99.14. It's gonna push us up all the way up to here. Now the price is slightly different compared to dominance. Well, the US BTC versus USD or BTC CME. It's slightly different price, so we might have to just look at our Friday close, which is gonna be just around these highs. So that's the, if you don't push up, you're likely going to have a small semi gap up towards that range. Makes it also slightly higher chance that we do push up. But right now we're in a very sort of 50-50 zone. Whether you want to take a short, you would have to wait for confirmation. But if you do get that breakdown, it's not likely you get that retest. You're likely just going to see a larger push towards upside and then possibly range a bit and then push down. You would have to be a bit more patient when it comes to that. Same with shorts. So So unless you did catch one of these previous lows, you're basically better off waiting right now. Or if you want to take a long, you would have to take just a tight stop below this previous low that we did create today at 97.2. So that's for Bitcoin. I did have some Fib levels here also I did want to watch. So I had two zones on the lower time frames that I wanted to see reactions of, and these previous lows back at 96. You have liquidity built up around these, and you will be looking for a sweep of these of some sort. You are coming into that mid-range, 0.5 fib, 3.2 fib, where you would be looking for that potential push towards upside and reaction if you do start breaking down from where we're currently at. We did tap the 786. I was looking for this to hold today, so we did wick below it, but we basically come right back up. So this is also where if you come back down to it again, you're less likely to hold it and you're gonna break down. Yeah, so that's the local structure for Bitcoin. We also did sweep these previous lows back here, so we swept that liquidity, and you did have this very aggressive candle up, and you did scrape these previous highs also. But yeah, this next sort of few candles here is going to tell everything what's going to happen next, if it's a higher low or a break below. And if you do get that higher low, initial target to start looking for reactions is going to be sweep of this high into this high right around 98, 98.7. You have your higher time from 786 as well as your 0.5 fib between the 886 and the 786. If same as last week, if you do come up here range into this 886 fib, you are more likely to come up and sweep these highs at 99 and at 100k, 99.9 basically on Bible charts. So that's it for Bitcoin. Let's have a look at ETH. Just zoom out a bit. ETH had a very nice move from last week. We did have this, after pushing this initial wave down, we did see how Bitcoin did come further down, where you basically come into the 886 and then you start pushing up. Meanwhile, ETH only had this small push down and then just instantly recovered and goes sideways instead, compared to Bitcoin. So the range here on ETH is smaller. If I can write this out. So you have this as sort of a range for ETH. Meanwhile, you are still inside of this range on Bitcoin. What are we looking at here? We could be seeing head and shoulders here, which could be bearish, and you would be looking for a push down back into this range, back into this point below this 0.5 fib, and you're likely to come back into the 618 and then look for a reaction there, for a push up, higher low, or a breakdown, and then you'd likely come back, sweep these lows that you did create during this shop range between 26th and 1st of January, basically between Christmas and New Year. You have some higher time for fibs here, well, not higher time for range fibs here, both your 0.5 fib and your 786. So it's a nice confluence zone for a bounce. Also at the range lows. Though, if you do this, get this move down, I would suspect that you do create a lower high and come back down and sweep these lows. Then you're done with this corrective structure towards the upside, and you're likely pushing down as sort of an ABC correction from all the way up here. So this is the same thing I was watching for Solana. Let's pick up a Solana chart here. So we had a few conflicts regarding this zone. Both Aussie took a short here, I did also take a short. You have your fibs. So first I have a fib from the pivot high at 234 down to that previous low that we did create at 175. That's gonna put your 786 right around 222. So this was my range for entry, and this 786 is from that X high to your A low. So that's why you have this kind of entry range, more so to say. Just because you did go into the weekends, you have lower volume, which can make it more choppy. So yeah, we are pushing down. You broke below the 72, and then you're looking for that push into 618 potential bounce zone, but more likely to come back and retest this trend line that you did create all the way back from those previous highs. And that's where you will see if you are making a higher low, push up, see maybe a lower high, or if you do see that breakout structure towards the upside and make a new high. If you do create a new high, you are likely more in this sort of larger structure towards the upside, and you're likely going to come back up all the way into the 264. And that's the bull case for this. We have a harmonic here for Solana 2 on the 15-minute, which does target right around that 206, 205 zone, which is our first TP zone for our short on Solana. I'm going to take up some more shorts here on Solana. This one. Yeah, so this is your bull case. If you did front run the January price action from 2024 into 2025 December, and that this pivot low right here is this pivot low right here, and that this is only a structure where you start building some type of bull flag similar to this one, and you see that push the upside. And that's likely going to happen if you do get that. That's going to likely happen off that 205, 200 to 205 range for a bounce zone. If you do create this same price action from 2024 in 2025. If you do not, then there is a possibility that we are still only back here. You have these fake outs towards the upside, and you're still waiting for that impulse towards the downside. So these are fake outs, and then you wait for an impulse, and that's going to be low, and then you start pushing towards the upside. Which is what I'm expecting right now, but of course we are building bullish momentum, so trend is your friend. We did break the previous highs on the 4 hour, so if you do create a higher low, could be expecting that push from 200 area into higher highs, and 260, likely 300 zone. Bearish case here is that you are in a corrective move, and you are looking for the 165 sweep of these previous lows back at 177 of this 786, 72 fin. Total 2 was one chart I wanted to have a look at too. So I did get a bit front ran on this, which is why I kind of think that there is a probability that we do come up and sweep some of the highs before we go down. Specifically because so we are, if you look at this on the higher time frames, I have marked this as a level of value. You have your higher time for 786 here at 1.43. You did break above that. Usually you do see push up into that 50% of this range from between the 886, 786. Now we did front run this mid range and forming this sort of sideways accumulation, sort of. Whether you either get that impulse into that 149, which is the point I'm watching, sweep of these highs, and then you start breaking down. So I'm not very convinced that we go down just yet. I mean, we can have strong coins, weak coins. Bitcoin can go down and alts go up, basically, and Bitcoin dominance drops. And we do see this run still. There is a chance that happens. There is, of course, a chance that we just front run this and we start breaking down from here. You do see this as a sort of a rounded top, and we usually say rounded top don't pay the bills. So there is that, of course. You do have a bunch of liquidity built up all the way around these lows at 1.3. If you do tap into the 886, like I wrote here, you are likely to, even if you do pull back from here, you are likely to make a higher low and push into that previous high, sweep these previous highs back here as sort of a minimum into those previous all-time highs. So that was it for total 2. Total market caps look slightly different. You did have an experience harmonic yesterday, which is where we started dumping, so I can just remove that because that's basically down. Looks slightly worse than total 2. Looks a bit more like the Bitcoin chart here, where you have your accumulation here. You have your accumulation. You have that push up as sort of a manipulation here, and then you are looking for that distribution towards the downside. Now will this hold, and we just bounce off this range low back here, and we make that higher low like we were watching on Bitcoin, start reclaiming some levels, then you are coming back up to sweep these highs and probably higher than that. So this is a potential move you could also see as a fake out on something like a Monday market open fake out. You get that push up, and then into Tuesday after sweeping that liquidity, you start going down again. This is also higher time frame confluence zone, where you have your 2, 3, 6 on the higher time frames from this previous high. As well as you do have these previous highs back here. It's the range lows from here, from this upper range. Again here, same as Bitcoin. It's next few candles are gonna basically tell everything. Next few hours. Solana Bitcoin. Let's have a look at this. I'm gonna have a look at the daily actually. So you did have this massive bullish harmonic on the daily. The target for these bullish harmonics are into these fibs. You did front on it right now, just rejected off these previous lows back here, right into this small high that you did have before breaking down. You have a small range that you did create. Let's have a look at this. I'm gonna remove some stuff. Gonna see if I can count any waves inside of this. I mean, if I were to count waves here, I would be looking at this as your 1, 2, 3, and this would be a 4, 5. And then your wave 4 is usually pushing into 3 to 0.5. That is a common wave 4 target. It's gonna be that range. So it's slightly lower from here on Solana Bitcoin, but you could also just form some type of bull flag here and start breaking up again, or some falling wedge of some sort, or expanding wedge even. And then you do get that break above the high. So that looks pretty likely here on Solana Bitcoin. That Solana does show some strength, even though you are at resistance, but into this pullback. And this wave 5 can expand all the way up to the highs, into fib targets or whatever, or you could just have a small sweep of this high 3, and then you start breaking down again. Could be a potential Monday fake out, something we have to watch. You have your resistance here at the highs. These are basically the last proper highs you made before this breakdown. So that's always something to watch. I believe it's fibs as well. Yeah, it's 0.5 fib. You have your 0.5 fib right there as well. If you were to add your 618, it's slightly higher up. So that is what I'm going to be watching for Solana Bitcoin. I did have some altcoins I did want to go through myself. Starting off by SAI. This is a lower cap gaming coin, which I did buy. When was this? This I did buy on January 1st, so 4 days ago. I'm gonna take it up here to CoinMarketCap. Check the market. 250 million market cap. Where I would be looking for a push, because we have starting to see strength overall on gaming coins. Gaming coins usually come very late in a bull run, but once they run sort of big time. And if we look at the structure from all the way back from its launch, that was in January of 2024. So it's been out for about a year. You had this massive correction move towards the downside, where you did find a bottom around this 0.17. What I dislike about this low is that you did create equal lows back here, which is usually a potential sweep target. So if you were to breaking down, tap into the 86, you're also likely to come back, sweep these lows, and then you can go. So that is something I would have to watch for. But if you don't come back for these lows, then you are likely creating this wave 1 right now, where you are looking for that wave 2, and you're looking for a higher low here compared to this low, and you're looking for that push towards upside. Just a common target of this as a wave 3, when it looks at Elliott waves, is gonna be, if you use Fib extensions from here, it's gonna be right into that 0.6, 0.58, which from here is around a 2x, and that would be your sort of a minimum target for this. And then of course all the way back into the highs, which I'm not very likely it's gonna happen, but it could happen, and that's gonna be a 6x if you do get that as a larger expansion move towards the upside. So SAI is one I'm very closely watching right now. You have this local structure that you did break out of. You have this downtrend. You broke out of it. You did form a low, higher low, where you are now breaking out. You did form another higher low here. But what we have to watch for is that we are around these resistance areas right now, where you would like to see a solid push up here, possibly a retest, and then that initial push towards upside. If you do not get that, you're likely to come back into range and then come back into the range once again. So that's for SAI that I'm watching. I will call it, guys, if I do buy more. I think it's a really good risk to reward. The worst case is that I would have to play some drawdown here, minus 35% back into the lows, and then look to DCA back in again for a leg up. This is also your previous weekly high, which is kind of the same resistance that we are currently sitting at. You also have this higher time for trend line, which is right around where you're hovering right now. So it's a sort of a high confidence node area, node, whatever you want to call it, for either a bounce or a big rejection. Super, I did share this one in my channel. Another gaming coin. It's been extremely strong. So if we look back all the way to October of 2023, it's up around 23x, around a 20x, currently up from 2023. If we look at market cap, you are still around the 750 million market cap, so it's still quite low compared to most coins. And I do think with this structure, this could be your wave 1, but since we did sweep the lows back here, swept those lows, this cannot be a wave 1. So this means this is a corrective structure, and this is your wave 1. So you did bounce off your fib. If I were to draw it properly, you bounced up to 786, and you are in this sort of larger wave 3, where you have this massive 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, you do have 5 waves within a wave 3, and you are likely in a wave 1 to correction wave right now. So that's why I'm looking into this higher time frame 3-2 fib and the 618. So that's my confidence zone. So if you do get back into $1, 0.9, I want a DCA super. I don't hold any spot just yet, but this is a coin I want to buy into for either a swing trade or just a spot swing overall into highs, new highs, all-time highs. I think you can get a good sort of a 3 to a 7x from this overall, as it's been one of the best performing gaming coins since 2022, basically 2023. So you just gotta keep betting on the strong coins, you know. So I do have a bit of a short open right now from these fibs that I am looking for a corrective move here as we run to 3, 4, 5 and then push down. So that's my take on Super. BB is another coin I'm watching. Another low cap coin. I'm gonna be very picky about my entry on this one because it's let's have a look at it. I forgot the market cap was for it. 217 million market cap. Just because of its recent structure that you are creating this lower high right here. So I do want to see this corrective structure play on a larger scale, where you do have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of structure towards upside already, which could be your wave 1, 2, 3. So my interest zone lays. I could even add the 618 fib here. 618 is too high. But yeah, below this 8 point, I want to see a sweep of this 8 point into the 786. That's where I want to DCA. That's my interest zone. I will not buy here. You're likely going to come down and you will be in a massive drawdown. I don't think the risk is worth it. But once you do come back here, your risk is pretty low. If you do break down, even you lose 22%. But if you start aiming for the highs, you're looking at around the 3x, just back into previous highs, which is going to be around the 600 million market cap. So if you do see a bigger run on gaming coins, you're going to see higher than that. Popcat Whiff. This is actually such an interesting chart right now, because I did post about Whiff the other day, where I did say it looked good, and I expected a bottom around 0.4. Where was it? 1.4 maybe? 1.9, 1.4. And as I say that, we have this inverse head and shoulder on Popcat. I was looking at this as an inverse head and shoulders, and you did try to break that up, but you basically just SFP this high and start breaking down again. This is generally bearish. So if this goes down, that means Whiff is starting to outperform Popcat, which does make sense if you look at the charts, because Whiff in general, the structure of it all, it looks a ton better than what Popcat does. Popcat is still likely to come back and sweep something of the lows, and of course it's a meme at the end of the day, so it could also just start creeping up. So of course you look at this chart, if you do see this reclaim again here, then Popcat is likely to outperform, but if you do see consolidation here of some sort, then you are likely to see Whiff outperform Popcat. So I'm going to keep an eye on this for the coming future. Would you consider shorting BB? I think the short on BB is a bit risky, just because it's a lower cap coin. You could take it with a very sort of easy invalidation here at the highs. I mean, it's not bad as a trade, but if you look at the 4-hour structure, you did have that sweep right there. You do have us around the top, but you do not have a structure break instead. You could potentially build one here. Yes, it does look like you're kind of breaking down right now, That's a very weak structure break here, where you are basically better off waiting for the first impulse. If you wait for the initial impulse, basically what you had here, at the impulse surge upside, you're better off waiting for that impulse surge downside, and then short on the retest or on the next sort of accumulation zone, and then you can have your stop above the highs. Because that's what you could do here, because you're still holding these lows back here, then you could just be ranging. And if you are ranging, you could also just come back into the highs, sweep that highs, and then start going down. And then basically you would get stopped out. Yeah, so waiting for further confirmations on this is what I would do. But this is a lower cap coin also. There is a possibility where you have a corrective structure within this small, well, very impulse to move down, and you start flipping from here. Less likely, of course, so I'm not gonna trade it, but there is a possibility that that's gonna happen. The lowest cap of today is gonna be 9. This is it's a gaming coin on Solana. It's around a 13 million market cap, I'm guessing. 9. Oh. 9. 10 million market cap even. So this is my gambler bet for the gaming coins. Lowest market cap of all. It's on Solana. It's a working game where you have been moving sideways as an accumulation since July of 2024. 180 days of accumulation. You did have a nice impulse surge upside here, which could be the beginning of something like an impulse surge upside. You are bouncing up to 786. You have not tapped into the 886 just yet. You did break out of this trend, downtrend that you did have as a local structure wise, similar to Psy, this one. And you did have this nice sweep towards the low and deviation back into range. So you have your local structure shift here. If you look at the higher time frames, you are also breaking these highs back here. So seeing something as this would not be bad. You are below the 618 still, but you are bouncing up to 786. I do have a small bag here. I did add some at the green box, but my initial entry was back up here. So I'm sitting around break even right now for Nyan. As it's such a low cap coin, I don't hold too much. It's generally this can go to 0 if it wants to. But your basically potential reward here is crazy. Where you're looking at around a 4x back into the highs from 0.1 to 0.4. So I think it's worth just taking a stab at this, where you either just trade this as a meme coin sort of, where you have your entry here and then you take your initial shot at the 2x late ride and then see if it goes up or start picking up from there. Bitcoin, of course, impact all of these charts that we're looking at right now. So just to a certain extent. So if Bitcoin dominance starts dropping, these kinds of coins can still hold up great without breaking down. So this one I did call also quite a while back, and I am looking at this structure. There is a bullish scenario here where you are already done with this bearish structure, and this is your low, or this is your low, and you're starting to push from here because you did tap the minimum target 618 of your wave 2, which is going to be here, which could be there. So I did DCA on this. I did call it too. And I will DCA further down if you do start breaking on here still into the 786. So that's my DCA zone for this. I do think this goes quite a bit higher. It's a real world asset coin, so its narrative is quite good. And it's had a very nice sort of structure to begin with, where you are seeing this around the bottom formation or reshape recovery then. For this impulse up towards previous highs. So these are 2024 highs even. And you're looking at around a 3x 4x almost back into those 2024 highs. I'm likely taking out my initials at the 2x, just because these are lower cap coins. Safest way to play it. Take out initials at the 2x and then just let it ride. Do its thing. So the narrative is really, really good here, and you have a big and nice sort of a potential upside reward. I was gonna look at some requests here. Fetch. I do have a fetch chart because I've been DCing it myself. So they had some news today that they were burning a bunch of the supply. I really like fetch here. I've been buying. I bought all the way back here, bought here, and I bought some more here. I have a swing long also, where you are in this sort of rising wedge. You did even reclaim this, because you do have two potential trend lines here, and you did reclaim both of them. So you are seeing that nice response for today, where you're seeing some type of push up. I do suspect there is a chance, of course, that we are still in the corrective structure, where you are seeing your ABC, but with this structure, you kind of have that ABC structure already, compared to what Bitcoin looks like, or other coins like Solana. It doesn't have this proper structure like we do here. We do have some liquidity around these lows, but if you do make a lower high, if you look at this, you make a lower high around that mid range, then you could see that pull back into the 76 again, or into this demand zone, where I want to DC even further, because I'm bullish on the higher time frames on fetch. I think this is a big runner for 2025. And I think it makes a new all-time high easily. So I have set my target around here at previous highs, and that's around a 3x from where we bought back here on the dip. But of course, first you have to break out of this rising wedge structure. So that's my take on fetch. AIXBT, I think it was. Yeah. I think I have big screen. I think I did chart AIXBT. I have a whiff chart on here also. I do have an entire post about whiff if you look in my channel. This is very crowded. Yeah, so AIXBT, I mean, I did sell some up here, because my initial entry was back here at this breakout at 130, 140 million. So I did take some profits around this big impulse surge upside, because this is likely going to be a 1, 2. Well, I mean, this is a difficult structure too, where you have either your 1, 2, 3. I do have this big trend line that I've been playing off for a long time now. You can see that how many times you bounced off it. You probably have like 6 bounces of it. So it's been very respectable. You do have a bunch of highs that you did sweep up here. You did SFPDSI. That's a nice sweep. You're getting this correction move, and you are just forming this range right now. In this range, I would either I would not buy spot here. I would not buy spot here. I would be waiting for some type of a larger correction for AXBT. There is a chance that it keeps going up, but it's like not likely. Let's add some tips on top of here to see how things move. Yeah, so like we are at 490. Your discount zone is going to be below 400. That's your 0.5 fed from that previous range low into that range high. So if you want to enter spot, I would enter below that, likely into these sort of cluster zones here, into that golden pocket kind of market. If you were to enter a spot on AXBT, there is of course a chance that they just leave you here and they start pumping to the upside, but so be it. You don't have really any good risk to reward. Just to get back to the highs here, That would be a 33% move. Another way to look at this would be if you were to look at some trend lines, potentially add a reclaim of that range high. Then you could look for a swing trade, but only a swing trade, like into these highs, before you either start falling off or you start picking up. If you don't get that, you're looking for that push back, just here, or push back into that 618 and then. So that's my take on XVT. Those are levels that I would be watching. Nothing goes up forever. That's something we have learned many times. You look at PopCat, for example, it's down like 67% or 70% from the highs. I do have an entire post about my whiff chart, but I'm gonna bring it up here too. The whiff hat. Where you have, so you basically have this big range on whiff contract, all the way back up from 4.8 down to 1.4. As you are coming back to these range lows, I really like the structure of whiff, where you have this sort of inverse head and shoulders, where you have your shoulder, head, and you're looking for that right shoulder. This is basically what Pepe made before it started breaking its previous all-time high, back at like 300 million. As well as you do have waves here. You have your 5 waves up towards the upside as a wave 1. Into that 4.8, and you have a very nice ABC correction all the way down to 1. Where did that bottom out? 1.7. So I was talking about spot on here on whiff. I think everything between 1.9, which is gonna be your 2, 3, 6 fib on the higher time frames. So these fibs are down from the previous high at 4.91 to the lows at the C lows, which is 1 billion. So anything between these 236 fib and your 886 fib is a good DC zone for spot. Of course, your optimal entry and bounce zone is this 786. But you could, of course, push slightly lower, tap into this previous support back here. This small cluster, basically, and then start picking up from there. As long as you don't break this low, this is considered a wave 2, and you're likely to come up and sweep this previous high at 4.83, which is going to be my first de-risk zone for Pepe, or whiff I mean, and you are likely going to push higher. Your common target for fib extension wave 3, 1618, 1414 into 7 to 8 billion market cap. From where we're currently at, that's around a 3.5x. So I really like whiff here. I love the structure of it all. Inverse head and shoulders, you're looking for that neckline breakout up at the highs, and you're looking for a large impulse. Of course, it's not going to be like this. You're not going to have a just straight up. It's of course going to be choppy. Exactly how this wave 1 is also just the same. You have your shops, but you're going to have those shops at the same time towards the upside. Before you actually see this potential correction wave 4, and then you get your likely all-time highs, maybe bull market highs potentially. This wave 5 could push into this wave 3 and push higher, or it could just right from here, because it can be an extended fib target too, so you could hit something as the same as 12 billion even. But always de-risk along the way for something like this. That's also why I did say de-risk so much with at previous all-time highs, which is still from here around the 2.5x. Then you have to de-risk along the way, because you want to time the top, you never will. That's how it is. Pepe. I am of course bullish on Pepe. I have quite a big Pepe bag still. I mean, there is not too much to talk about here. Uh, Compare this to something like With, where you are still inside of this for With. You are likely around these lows. Meanwhile, for Pepe, you also already had that massive breakout. That basically created one bull. Well, it was basically one bull flag to another bull flag to another bull flag, and then we start breaking up. Of course, it can't do this forever, and you see these correction waves. Very strong bounce. I dislike this candle, but sometimes that's how it is. I'm gonna mark it out. Let's use some fibs here from those previous lows. Throw in a 3, 2, and a 0.5. Yes, you are bouncing just about the 3, 2. 3, 2 is usually good momentum. So basically, if you reclaim it, you usually see potential push up. So if Bitcoin allows, I think Pepe keeps pushing from here. Bear case is here that you do create that lower high. You have this as a head and shoulders, and you start pushing down as a corrective structure. Sweep these lows into the 786. That's where you start to bounce again. For that new all-time high and potential flip SHIB as the second biggest meme coin. So that's just a quick overview of Pepe. You are above support, so that's bullish. You're of course also building this sort of falling wedge structure. So if Bitcoin allows, you're gonna get that push. Where you can look, of course, first and foremost, always look at the local highs. So look at the local highs, see if you sweep that, if you reclaim it or break down, or if you see that actual impulse with volume push through, and then you're gonna get likely a larger move. If you look at this as a wave count, it would not be an easy wave count, that's for sure. You have so much shop. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you have a three-way structure in this, and this doesn't make sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I could see that as your five-way structure, even though this is a ugly wave run, if it is a wave run. Not very likely either, because it's wave 1 has 5 waves inside of it. That was up only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's more likely. Wherever you want to, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So if you were to look at the Eldritch waves, this is more likely if you were looking at a 5-way structure. And as long as you hold above these lows, basically. If we look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. There's some fibs. As long as you do not tap the 618. As long as you don't tap the 618, we can work it out. As long as you don't tap the 618, this is likely going to push higher. If you do come back, tap the 618, even if you push higher, you're likely to come back lower. So that's your overall local watch for Pepe. It's around a 2% move, or you get a potential 7% move, 6 or 7. Yeah, Cleet, you're a bit late, but it's okay. It's recorded, so you can watch it after if you want to. Bonk. Bonk chart is, I think it's the same as Pepe. It looks slightly better than Pepe. But again, as a corrective structure, that could be your 5-way, well, a 3-way corrective structure. If I like on the 12-hour here, you do have that 1, 2, 3, shuffle 1, 2, 3, move towards the downside. Meanwhile, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's tough. 4, 5. The difficult one too. We can of course see that you're bouncing off that previous support. Would not be beating right now. You do have this breakout that you did have, a falling wedge of some sort, a potential bull flag if you look at it from these lows. Just your local structure, what to watch here is going to be this previous highs. Previous highs back here, and you have your initial consolidation before you get that new all-time highs. So that's going to be your zone to flip if you want to turn bullish or see bullish continuation. And you want to see something similar to what we did towards the downside, but towards the upside instead, in the reverse. If you do not see that and you're basically failing to hold this and you're coming back into range, you are going to come back at least for these lows and likely back to these lows back here. So if you do use something like fibs from the lows to the highs, let's throw 76 on there. Yes, you do have 786 around those lows as well, and you are above the 618. So that's going to be my fib to watch. Going to be the 618 at 0.003341. And that's going to be a reclaim level at that 0.5 and that zone. So there's no real point at longing here because you will be longing into a resistance zone, but also likely want to wait for a short here before you actually see that push towards the downside. If you use some even higher time for fibs, we can use it all the way from the lows, the highs, or even those previous lows all the way back there. Yeah, so if this zone does not hold and you break below these lows, I will be looking at this. You have this trend line, and you have these range lows back here, and your 76 fib. So that's a nice confidence zone. This is where I see a high probability large bounce for an overall bigger impulse towards upside again, and that's likely going to lead you into new all-time highs with Solana, of course, and most likely Bitcoin and other aspects. Crypto. What spots am I looking at? I am looking for these. So I have a small bag of, well, I don't have super yet, but I'm looking for super to come back into this zone around 1.1 to 0.99 as a spot. Gaming coin. Sai, I did buy some back here. I did tweet about this. I am looking for this push towards upside, break these previous highs, see this retest. I will add more. If we don't get that, I want to wait to see if you get a correction moving to this low, or if you do start seeing a breakdown all the way back to this 86 and potentially even those equal lows. So that's for Sai. BB, I'm waiting. This is where I'm looking for a larger pullback. Like this is going to be a big pullback, 33%. Anything below that 8 point is where I would be interested in a spot DCA on BB. That's a good narrative too. Nyan I did buy before, quite a while ago, so that was on mid-December. My initial entry, I did DCA some at the lows, green box, but we did have a break of trend. You're still in this large accumulation range, and this is where you're looking for an potential expansion towards the upside for continuation. And this is a low cap, it's at 10 million market cap. It's a gaming coin on Solana. Then you have a real world asset coin, AXL, which is everything in this red zone. 618, 786, I'm gonna buy. And DCA. And that's for a higher time frame swing or spots play into previous highs at around a 3 to 5x. and this is likely gonna play out in the coming month. Well, likely Q1 or Q2 of this year. We did talk a bit about fetch, but I did call it here. We did buy some here, also bought some here. So if you do come back into this zone again, I would buy more before actually getting that break into yearly high. I think that is, yeah, March 2024 high at 3.5. So that's just an overall overview for coins I'm watching to DCA into. With also, if you get below 1.7 again, I'm gonna DCA some with all the way down to 1.4. You're welcome, Danny. Yeah, if there's no more questions, I'm gonna end the stream here and recording as well. So